Hey guys, it's Michael Cheek again. This is the second video for Sober by Pink. And we're finishing up the intro here, which is really, it's not necessarily, it starts at the beginning of the song, but it's really the verse too. So in the first video, I'd like to show you real quick what we've gotten through. And make sure you watch the first video for all of that, because I'm just going to run through it really quickly here to catch you up to where we're at. So what we've done already is I taught you that the first two chords repeat the same every time. It's that last chord that changes a little bit. So the first time we go through the chord progression, it looks like this. Those are the first two chords that are the same every time. But then here's our third one that changes a little bit. And so the first time we go through, it sounds like this. Okay. And here's the second time we go through. Okay, then the third time, and then we go back up here. This is where we go. Okay, you have that little hammer pull-off thing that we talked about. Then the fourth time we go through, I think I already said that you go back to the way you did it the second time through, and then that looks like this. Okay, now this fifth time through is what we actually didn't get to talk about. Now it's very similar to the third ending that you have in this chord progression, but slightly different, so I need to make note of it and point it out to you. So again, your first two chords are the same, okay, but you're going to go back up to that first chord again, play these three notes in a row, A, D, and then G string, okay. And then what I want you to do is hold down that same, those same two notes that you held down before. It's middle finger on the 7th fret of the B string, and your first finger is going to be on the 6th fret of the G string. Okay? And what you're going to do is play those two notes together and then hammer on and pull off on that G string in the 8th fret. Then you're going to play the 8th fret on the D string. Then your first finger is going to flatten across the G string and the D string in the 6th fret. You're going to play those together, the D string, the G string, and you're going to hammer with your third finger. You're going to hammer on the 8th fret of the D string. And then you're going to pick it back up, and it's not a pull off, you just pick it back up. And then you play these two notes that you have down with your first finger. That's the 6th fret of the D and the G string. Like that. So it sounds like, kind of like this. Okay, you've got the hammer pull off right there. Okay. Alright. And then you get into the pre-chorus. So one more time, I'm going to go through that verse part there, and then we'll get into the pre-chorus. So here we go. That was the first time through. Here's the second. Oh, I blanked out. There we go. Here's the third time through. Here's the fourth time through. And then the fifth time through. And then, okay. Then you get into the pre-chorus. Now the pre-chorus is, well, let me actually make it clearer for you. I can just kind of start the song somewhere near the pre-chorus. So let me see if I can find it real quick on the computer. This is it right here. Okay, I'll play along with it a little bit. Okay, now I did kind of a simplified version there because they use some of the riffs from that verse there, but for the most part you can just play those power chords. And what those are this power chord, this one, and then this one. Okay. And if I need to make any amendments, I'll do that, and I'll make another video to add to it if I feel like I need to add anything. But I'm going to keep that part a little more simple. And so you're going to start off in the 2nd fret of the E string, okay, with your first finger. Your next note is the 4th fret of the A string, and your next note after that is the 4th fret of the D string. Okay, we're going to have 3 notes in these power chords, and you're going to just kind of play a kind of a loose rhythm, Okay. Now, that 2nd chord, obviously, that I go to, that's 7th on the E string and 9th on the A and the D string. Okay? You play the same rhythm on that one. So you go here to here. And then I'm going back a fret and down a string. So I've got 6th fret on the A string, 8th fret on the D, and 8th fret on the G. Okay, so after this chord, I go to this one, and it's just a 3-note or a 3-chord chord progression. So it's going to be and you can see I'm staying on that last chord a little longer. Okay, now. You play that 4 times in a row. This chord, then this one. You do that 4 times in a row, and that's your pre-chorus. That's basically just a little section that's different from the verse, but it's not the chorus yet. It's just kind of setting you up for the chorus. Then we have the chorus come in. What that is this part here. Okay, now I just played along with the chorus there. Now, if you couldn't hear my guitar very well, it's going to sound like this. Now, sometimes in the song a little later, you'll actually keep going with that chorus, but that time you only have to go through it twice, the chord progression twice. So let's go ahead and get into that. You're going to use all power chords here, and let me just give you the power chords first, and then we'll talk about the rhythm and the chucking and all that. Your first power chord is the 6th fret on the A string with your first finger. The next note is the 8th fret of the D string. And you can stop there, but I like to add this 8th fret on the G string as well with my pinky, so I get a little fuller sound. And you got to make sure you mute everything else. So make sure none of those other notes are playing, just these 3. Okay? Now, that's your first power chord. Your next one is 7th on the E string, and 9th on the A, and 9th on the D. Okay. Next one, 2nd on the E string, 4th on the A string, 4th on the D string. Okay. You actually do that one twice. You play it, then wait a second and play it again. But then the next time you move, you're going to go up, same strings, but it's going to be 4th fret on the E string, 6th fret on the A string, and 6th fret on the D string. And then you bring it back around to your last chord, 6th fret on the A string, and 8th fret on the D and the G string. Okay? Now, the rhythm of this chord chord progression is kind of what gives it its unique sound. If you're just kind of playing, if you're just doing that, it's not really going to sound that great. The chucking is what is important here. Now, chucking, if you don't already know, is kind of where you still strum the strings, but you're not pressing them down with your left hand. You're just muting them. So, for instance, I play that first chord twice, but then I let the pressure up on this hand, and I'm muting every string. So when I strum across the strings, I get that sound, and they call that chucking. And you can have rhythm with chucking just as the same as you can as with strumming a chord. And the rhythm of that chucking here is important. So what you're going to do is have 2 down strokes for the chord, okay? And then it's a down, up, and then come back down without hitting the strings and go up again for your chuck. So, okay, down, up, up. That puts a natural break in between there and spreads out those last 2 chucks. Okay? Then I go to my next chord. Then my next one. Now, the thing with this one here is we have a big break between that first chord right here and that one there where we play the same chord, but we're having to wait a while. So on that one, you can just kind of copy my rhythm. I'm going. Okay? That's probably the best way for you to copy it. So let me do it one more time. Here we go. Very slow, slow motion here. Okay? And then from that one to the next one, you have the normal chucking pattern. So you're going to that one. So what ends up happening is you have that very long chucking pattern and then the normal one. So it goes. Okay? You have the normal one in between that chord and this one too. So all the way through, that chord progression, the chucking and everything is going to sound like this. Okay? Now, if that's the last time you're going to have to do that chord progression, then you just kind of end with that. Or you can even just strum it once. The important thing is just to let it ring there, because you're going to start on something new. But for every other time, if you're going to repeat that, you've got to do some chucking before you start the whole thing over. What I usually do is this. Okay? If you'll notice, it's the same thing I did down here. So what I'm going to do here is play the chorus slowly 2 times in a row, so you can see me when I'm having to repeat the chorus and see what I do, and also see what I do when I'm just ending it and going into something different or ending the song. So this is what it's going to sound like. 2 times through. This is the chorus, slower speed so you can keep up and practice with me. So here we go. Ready? Go. Sorry. I had a little mess up there. I'm sorry about that. But you get the idea. So that's how you play the chorus. Full speed is going to be really more something like this. My head when I'm playing, I just forget about what I'm doing, and I like to keep going. So I think I probably gave you enough chances there to play along with me, especially on those slow ones when you're getting used to it. Play along with me. That's why I play slow during these lessons, to give you a way to practice it slow and check your rhythms and your notes and everything, because I know it's kind of hard to do that with the song going full speed when you're first learning it. So I hope you enjoyed the lesson, and this is actually a pretty fun little song to play with. So I hope you enjoy it, practice it hard.